next one is talent, which we all know is a big issue. So one of the things is, some of you in the room aren't over 50, I can spot that. But a lot of our clients get to an age where they forget what it was like to be 24. How many of you got your first big job in your early, mid-20s? So the vast majority of you actually got your first big job at 25, 26, 27. I remember being a director of Saatchi's in the 80s at 27, which looking back on it was lunacy for them, I should say. I enjoyed it. Yet often we find people not promoting the young just because of their particular age, because they forget what it was like to be 27. Yet the leaders of the future should really be given those kind of big responsibilities at a young age. Talent also, we say, in fact, when I do a lot of these workshops, and often we do questionnaires in advance, and talent always comes out as the number one priority. But when I coach leadership teams and chief executives, again, if you look at where they spend their resources and effort, it is not the number one priority. Yet those cultures, in my opinion, which are most successful, find a way of building in the whole sort of talent nurturing as part of the infrastructure of the business. The other thing is we don't seem to measure it very well. We don't tend to measure performance. So for those businesses which I or Alistair end up chairing, one of the metrics we always put in place is trying to measure how well our talent are doing. And the simple thing is actually just have a STARS program. Who are these young people who are going to be your leaders of the future? Who's nurturing them? Who's responsible for them at board level? And who's actually reporting against whatever criteria you want to set? So successful agencies, the top thing is their culture. As I mentioned, when we walk into these agencies, you just know when you're walking into a successful business. You can feel the energy. It's the way that the person at the front of house welcomes you. It's the fact that it's clean, it's tidy. There might be music, it might be chaotic. I'm working with a young digital studio in London and New York at the moment, and it is like walking into my teenager's bedroom. Having said that, when you spend time in there, you notice that the whole culture is around creativity. And they are probably operating in the most talent competitive marketplace you can get, which is how do you recruit digital people. The example I can give you here is that they allow all of their people to spend a third of their time on other projects. So for example, they've just launched a game called Monument Valley, which has gone to the top of the charts, and that was a byproduct of people being allowed to do their own thing. So as a result, not surprisingly, they have a whole great queue of talented people wanting to actually join their firm. You guys know about Wieden & Kennedy? One of the most creative cultures in the world. Does anyone know what their talent proposition is? Their talent proposition is, you are here to do the best work of your career. Pretty challenging. It's going to get people out of bed in the morning. It's so, Neil Christie, who runs Wieden & Kennedy in London, years ago he was doing a workshop which I was leading, and he was explaining how this talent proposition is now used in client selection. So they actually have a conversation with their clients about, we're all about doing the best work of our careers in our agency. And we like to work with clients who also have the challenge and set themselves of doing the best work in their career. The output of this is, as a mainstream agency in London, they do 7 pitches a year on average, rather than 20, which mainstream agencies normally do. They win 6 or 7, rather than winning 6 or 7 out of 20. Because they spend that extra amount of effort to explain what kind of culture, what kind of talent proposition they have, and they then feed that in terms of selecting clients as well. And I've mentioned the third point already, which is this idea of accelerated development, spotting those individuals who are really talented and literally over-promoting them, something which we forget to do. So 3 tips. Talent propositions. If you don't have one, go and create one. Takes a while. The start point is really your values and your culture. And out of it, it's amazing how you can generate a single-minded thought which rallies your staff, both retaining them but also recruiting them. Perhaps you even put a council together to develop a talent proposition. Do you guys do profiling of your talent? Myers-Briggs, ColourWorks, those kind of things? Some of you? Profiling is one of those slightly sort of, they tend to divide rooms. Some people think they're brilliant, some people think they're terrible. Our experience of we use ColourWorks a lot. Our experience is they're a very helpful guide. They are not something to run your whole business around, but they're a great way to start developing emotional intelligence amongst your management. Who has teenage children? Some of you. What's amazing, I've noticed my kids at school are now they're taught emotional intelligence. They're actually taught what feelings are, where do they come from, and how to deal with them. So we're actually educating a group of people who are going to come into the workforce who understand emotional intelligence. Yet people my age, in the 50s, when I started work in the early 80s, training was for the weak. Training was for the weak. So there's a lot of opportunity and a lot of tools out there in this day and age to help you better understand the people you work with. And lastly, for those of you who are concerned about cost, you need to have a decent budget put across against personal development. So whether it's each member of our team has a percentage of their salary, which they're 10% of their salary, they're allowed to invest in personal development. And I spend 1 day a month outside of our organization as part of a leadership group, because it's important that we all do it on an ongoing basis.